Let's see if I can add a little bit of light.
Stupid.
Okay, is that a little better like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Can I hold?
looking at this now,
Start over.
this over here is your prostate gland. If you were to see it on the model, not separated, you would see it from the back. There's the bladder, there's the prostate gland.
It's like a
From the back,
big.
here's the testes, here's the epididymis, here is the vas deferens, or ductus deferens. It comes around here. This thing, by the way, are the ureters emptying into the bladder. Let me point that out. But it comes to the back where it swells. This part here is the ampulla of the vas deferens. This squiggly glandular thing here will be your seminal vesicle. Ampulla, seminal vesicle. Ampulla, seminal vesicle. So this one in this case maybe looks a little more forward, a little different, but they're pretty much the same. Where they both come together over here is this portion here, the ejaculatory duct. So the ejaculatory duct meets into the prostatic urethra. So we saw the seminal vesicle, we see the prostate. This over here is Cowper's gland, or the bulbourethra. And it empties right here into that spongy urethra. Spongy urethra is here. It almost looks like you have two spongy urethra. You only have one, but you've cut it in half. We took a mid-sagittal cut, and it's got this hollow tube in the middle, being the urethra, right, the spongy urethra. So it almost can look like you have two of these. You only have one of these. It's cut in cross-section. And we see here the spongy urethra in the center. This is the corpora cavernosum. It looks like you only have one of them. You have two. We've cut this in the middle. This is the one on the right side, and this is the one on the left side. So you have two corpora cavernosum. You have one spongy cavernosum. And it widens over here to become the glans penis. Here is the bulb of the spongy cavernosum, here at the penile root. The crust of the corpora cavernosum, you can't really see it, but it's back in there. Let me think of anything more that I see on this particular one. Those names that I mentioned will all be, you should all know. I'm not going to get to the seminiferous tubules as far as pointing to them, but you should know that that's the spot that manufactures sperm, and that the interstitial or lading cells make testosterone. This shows you that cross-section of the penis where you can see that there are two corpora cavernosum, one spongy cavernosum. Although, when you look at it like this, here is one of that corpora cavernosum. This is half of the spongy.
Thank you.
If you cross-section the whole piece, it's just one of these and two of these. This again shows the seminiferous tubules in here. They all go back through the retestes, straight ducts into the retestes, out efferent ductules into the epididymis. This is where the sperm capacitation takes place. It starts to mature. It takes about 2 weeks. It goes from the head to the body to the tail of the epididymis, up out into the vas or ductus deferens. Here is the seminiferous tubule. The spermatogonium are on the outside. The sperm wind up on the inside of the tubule. This is the sustentacular or lating or interstitial cells right through here. This makes testosterone. And sperm end up here. I just quickly put up a sperm slide because it's one of the things that we have, and this is a slide that's in the back. Take a microscope and look, and you see all those little buggers. Just notice the tail. They all got the little, their little swimmers are right here, so the flagella just swiggle back and forth, and they should hopefully be swimming straight. There's a tail, there's a tail. Be careful when you handle the slides, I don't make them get credit. The other slide.
It's a long way to go.
Is there a PowerPoint on the test?
On what?
Is there a PowerPoint section on the test?
On the breast?
On the test. On the test.
On the test, I'm not going to I'm going to do this like I did last time. Yeah, because there is,
Classic.
there's very little we talk about breast tissue, but we do a little bit on the reproductive system. Yeah.
Only this. There's never a dull moment in this
I
class.
don't like looking at it. Just see. Yeah, I'll look at this later. This is the testes and the seminiferous tubules do look. You'll see them pretty clear on that. I'll go back to here. So this is. Now we can get to the female. This is the first time I taught this, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. My wife was wondering when I'm going to get off this page. I'm lying in bed.
Oh my god.
You have to keep it open for Okay, so this is known as the vulva, this region here. It has the mons pubis in the front. This is your external genitalia of the female. Mons pubis in the front, the pubic symphysis with overlying fat. And this is usually a hairy area of skin. Then you've got little fat in this flap of skin, the labia majora or majus. And then underneath that is the hairless fold of skin, the labia minora or minus. That opens up into this area here being the vestibule. The foremost part of the vestibule has the clitoris, which is like a cavernosum, and it's got a lot of nerve endings there, and it's covered by the labia minora, acting like a hood or a prepuce covering it. Behind that is the urethral opening, leading into the bladder, and behind that is the vaginal opening. You can see with the rugae, so it's available for stretch. As we get into the ends of the vagina, there is folds on either side because the uterus is bulging into it. These folds are known as the fornix of the vagina. And this first part of the uterus that comes into the vagina, this is the cervix. This is what the doctor is looking to see is dilating if he decides it's time for you to push or not push. How many fingers wide this becomes. When the baby, by the way, is developing, it doesn't develop in this area here. This is, let's say, the space of the uterus. What happens is that little bugger called a blastocyst at that time starts to burrow into the endometrial lining. It gets into here. The endometrium has a lining called the stratum basalis, which is your basic layer. And then, with each cycle, when you release estrogen, that basalis becomes mitotically active, giving you a thicker and a thicker stratum functionalis. It's the stratum functionalis that little blastocyst, that parasite, starts to burrow into the endometrial lining, into the stratum functionalis. And then when progesterone comes, that stratum functionalis becomes very glandular, very rich in capillaries and blood vessels, so that little parasite can get a lot of nutrition. It'll steal the oxygen from the mother's hemoglobin, he'll dump off all his waste products with the mother, and he'll thrive inside the endometrium, not inside the uterine cavity. But the uterine cavity eventually disappears because the endometrium spreads out, and it almost this side starts to touch that side if it's developing in here. Of course, if there is no impregnation, then the stratum functionalis gets thicker, 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 gets glandular and blood vessels, but 2 weeks later, the corpus luteum dies, there's no more progesterone, the whole stratum functionalis, its blood vessels and glands, come out through the cervix into the vagina, and you get a menstrual cycle. You have menses. So the endometrium has the endometrial lining, and then it's mainly a muscular wall.